Life is a series of decisions, from small choices like what to have for dinner, to big decisions that can change your life. Have you ever faced a decision that made your heart race, kept you up at night with worry? We all have those moments, when fear and anxiety cloud our minds, making everything seem hazy and unpredictable. In those moments, we need to find inner strength, need an inner source of encouragement to be able to move forward. Today, I want to share with you a true story about a close friend of mine, a story of courage, overcoming fear, and finding peace through practicing Stoic philosophy. This friend was faced with a decision that not everyone makes easily. He knew he didn't want to have children and chose to have a vasectomy to ensure that. But before he could do it, fear overtook him, making him worry about what would happen, about the pain and consequences that would come. What I mean is, it was in those moments of stress and anxiety that he found strength in the Stoic philosophy. A philosophy that helped him face his fears, control his emotions, and focus on what he could control. What is life really about if we let fear prevent us from making the right decisions? Stoicism teaches that happiness and peace come from controlling our emotions, living in self-control, and facing reality with awareness. You want a truly free life. But are you ready to face the challenges that come along the way? Join me as I explore this story and learn how Stoicism can help us overcome our fears and live a free, happy life. Before we continue on this journey together, I want to take a moment to talk to my wonderful friends. You know, there are small actions that mean a lot, and they are completely free. What I am talking about is subscribing to the channel and leaving comment. Each time you do these things, you are not only supporting me, but also sending a huge amount of encouragement that I really appreciate. These actions reflect the sincerity, kindness, and virtue that Stoicism always promotes. Don't hesitate to share your thoughts through the comments, because that is how you express your views and lifestyle. If you found this content useful, please leave comment number 1. If you did not find it valuable to you, please leave comment number 2. This is really important to us, because through this, we can evaluate and improve the way we convey the message in the next videos. Leave your mark with these small but meaningful actions. I look forward to reading your stories, a stable but worry-filled life. My friend is a young, successful man who lives a life that many people dream of. From the outside, he has a good job, a loving family, and close friendships. He is always seen as a successful person, a role model that many people want to achieve. But few people know that deep inside, he carries a deep anxiety that only he truly understands. For many years, he has been thinking about having children. Although living in a society that considers marriage and having children as important goals in life, he always felt that being a father was not what he wanted. Since childhood, he had different thoughts about life and the responsibilities that come with it. Instead of pursuing traditional dreams like getting married and having children, he was attracted by personal freedom, by experiences that not everyone could understand and sympathize with. He did not want to have children. Even when he saw the joy of his relatives with their children, he still did not feel that desire existed within him. For him, children were a great responsibility, a burden that he was not sure he could or wanted to shoulder. He used to ask himself, am I capable of being a good father? Can I sacrifice my freedom for another life? These questions constantly lingered in his mind, creating a not-so-small internal struggle. Life often imposes unwanted pressure. Everyone around him has children. They talk about the joy and happiness that children bring. They talk about the happy moments of seeing their children grow up, about the satisfaction of seeing their children achieve success. These stories are told over and over again as an affirmation of the value of parenthood. However, for my friend, the thought of parenthood brings with it burdens and responsibilities that he does not feel ready to accept. He loves his free life, where he can do what he really likes, whenever he wants, and where he feels most comfortable. But at the same time, anxiety begins to appear. Is this the right decision? Will refusing to have children make him regret it in the future? These thoughts keep repeating in his mind, creating a constant internal struggle. Every day, he faces the question, am I brave enough to make this decision? The internal struggle, the conflict between reason and emotion, Whenever he thinks about not having children, he feels relieved but also anxious. His reason tells him that not having children will help him maintain his freedom, will allow him to continue pursuing his personal goals without being bound by family responsibilities. But his emotions keep asking him questions. Is this the right decision? Am I missing out on an important part of my life? This struggle is not easy. Every day, he has to remind himself of the reasons why he decided not to have children. He once wrote down a list of reasons why not having children was the best decision for him. But no matter how much he convinced himself, the anxiety remained. He feared that he would regret it, that one day, looking back on his life, he would feel empty because he had not experienced the joy of parenthood. The human psyche is complex. We are often torn between our desires and our responsibilities, between what we think is right and what we feel is right. For my friend, this tug-of-war had been going on for years, and it had left him feeling emotionally drained. He knew that he needed to make a definitive decision, a decision that would free him from this tug-of-war. The final decision: vasectomy. After months of thinking and struggling with himself, my friend made the decision to undergo a medical procedure that would ensure that he would never have children. It was a vasectomy, a simple but crucial procedure. It wasn't an easy decision, but he knew that if he didn't do it, his future sexual interactions would be clouded by the fear of having children. He had planned the day of the procedure carefully. He wanted to do it secretly, not wanting his family or friends to know because they wouldn't understand or sympathize with his decision. He was afraid that people would think he was selfish, that he was shirking his responsibilities as a man. But he knew that this was the right decision for him. Everything was ready. The worry was still there. Despite his careful preparation, he couldn't stop the anxious thoughts from creeping into his mind. Was the procedure safe? Were there any complications? Would this decision change his life in ways he didn't want? These questions continued to haunt him, but he knew he had to move forward. That day, before entering the clinic, my friend experienced conflicting emotions. He felt an invisible fear that was preventing him from moving forward. At times, he thought about getting back in his car and driving home, leaving everything behind. But he knew that if he did, the anxiety and uncertainty would continue to haunt him for the rest of his life. Facing fear, controlling your breath and mind. Although he knew it was the right decision, when he entered the procedure room, he still felt like he was entering a big battle. His fear increased by the minute, and when the first needle touched his skin, panic set in. He started breathing rapidly. His heart was racing, and he felt like he could lose control at any moment. The doctor recognized his anxiety and tried everything to help him feel calmer. He was instructed to breathe evenly, trying to control his breathing to calm his racing heart. Although he was still a little nervous, my friend began to calm down. When the procedure began, everything happened faster than he imagined. The pain he feared turned out to be not as terrible as he imagined. The procedure only lasted about 20 minutes, but to him, felt like a lifetime. When it was all over, he didn't know how to feel. Happy to have made it through, or worried about what would happen next. After the procedure was over, my friend got back into the car. In that quiet moment, all his emotions suddenly came flooding back. He started crying, something he hadn't felt in a long time. These tears weren't from pain, but from the release of all the anxiety and stress that had built up over the years. He realized that he had done something he had previously thought impossible. The fear that had held him back from moving forward was now, and he felt lighter than ever after overcoming it. Those tears could have been a manifestation of the fear of being let go, process of cleansing the soul, or perhaps the loneliness of having to face this decision without anyone by his side to comfort. The journey after the decision, relief and awareness. When my friend returned home, he took some time to reflect on what had happened. He realized that things weren't as bad as he had imagined. In fact, his fears had been exaggerated in his imagination. Although this decision could have changed his life forever, he now felt that he had made the right decision. He no longer worried about having children. He no longer had to deal with insecurities in his sexual relationship, felt relieved and more confident about his future. Ultimately, the worst thing he had feared hadn't happened, and he knew that he was much stronger than he had ever thought. My friend's story is a clear example of how our imaginations can make our fears much more terrible than they actually are. Before the procedure, he imagined all sorts of bad scenarios, from being in unbearable pain to the procedure going wrong and having to deal with long-term consequences. But when it was all over, he realized that it wasn't that bad. Lessons from Stoicism. Facing your fears. The most important thing my friend learned from this experience was how to face his fears. Instead of letting his fears dictate his decisions, he courageously went ahead and overcame them. And after he overcame them, he realized that things weren't as scary as he thought, and that sometimes we have to courageously face our fears, find true peace. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, helped him find peace and focus on what he could control. One of the key principles of this philosophy is to realize that we cannot control everything in life. We cannot control the events that happen to us, but we can control how we react to them. My friend adopted this philosophy, and it helped him through one of the most difficult decisions of his life. Stoic philosophy teaches that happiness and peace do not come from what happens around us, but from how we face and handle those situations. When my friend entered the clinic, he was facing a major mental challenge. But instead of letting fear control him, he decided to control his breathing, control his mind, and focus on what he could control. It was through this that he overcame his fear and achieved the relief and peace he had been searching for all along. He also realized that, although fear is a natural emotion, it should not control our lives. When we dare to face our fears, we not only find inner strength, but also overcome barriers that we thought were impossible. This story is a reminder that fear should not be the deciding factor in our lives. No matter how big or small the decision is, facing our fears and overcoming them will help us grow and become stronger. Like my friend did, we need to believe in ourselves, in our decisions, and not let fear stop us from living the life we want. What is fear? Sometimes, fear is the only thing that stops us from living a meaningful life. Are you letting fear control your decisions? You want a truly free life, but are you ready to face the challenges along the way? Let's be honest, life will never be perfect. But that's why we need to be brave. What is life if not a series of challenges that we must overcome to become stronger? Life is a journey filled with challenges and decisions. We can let fear control and limit our lives, or we can courageously face it, overcome it, and find true peace and freedom. My friend's story is a clear example of how courage and stoicism can guide us through life's greatest challenges. If you have ever faced fear and made difficult decisions, I encourage you to share your story in the comments. I would love to hear how you overcame those challenges and the lessons you learned. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I share new stories and life lessons. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the only thing holding us back is the fear in our own mind. Don't worry, you can overcome it all.